So, just to start off, I really have no idea why I'm making this video. I have no input whatsoever about the situation. But I see everybody making a video on it, so fuck it. Basically, why am I doing shit? Basically, the allegations surrounding the whole Vic Mignogna story is, in my opinion, just, I don't want to say wrong or right. There's no right or wrong in situations, just the facts of the situation. Whether he did or did not commit these crimes, or did or did not do what people are saying, is not up to anybody's interpretation. The only real factor in this whole situation is if the victims are telling the truth and if the allegations stand up within the court of law. Nothing that people say online or on Twitter or anything like that should actually hinder his well-being, as of right now at least. What we see right now are the emotions part of it, because he's a very big popular figure in the voice acting community. He voiced hundreds of roles, like literally a couple hundred roles. And just looking up his IMDb or looking up any characters he voiced, you're going to be scrolling for at least an hour just to see oh, he did this role. So I think that the main backlash is seeing that this character that people have held up so much in their childhood, mostly, has come to this whole Bill Cosby effect, where we think everything is great. He's this amazing guy. Whether you hate him or love him, he's still a prevalent figure in the community. So now that this is being brought out to seemingly out of nowhere, I don't really get where this even came from. But now this is taking a toll on anybody who's affected with him. And the one reason why I'm actually doing this video is because of the whole Monica Rouse thing, where on Twitter, she kind of came out to expose him for him being this monster that he is. What we see is not really true. But it's kind of weird that all of a sudden now she's saying this happened to me, or she's experienced the same situation from Vic, and people are also rallying behind her because she said that. All the backlash, all the backlash that she's actually responsible for is because she said that happened to her, even though there's no real evidence against it. And granted, we don't need anything from her. She doesn't owe us anything as a people. As a people, what the fuck? She doesn't owe us anything as being an audience member. Her truths are her truths for whatever reason. But her truths should have been addressed when they happen, because now there's this whole situation where nobody knows the truth. So now we have side A, which is saying that Vic is a monster. He's been doing this for years and nobody said anything until recently. Ironically, or coincidentally rather, after all these situations with the Me Too movement, and everybody's coming out saying that this happened to them 10, 20 years ago, and people getting upset about this now, when I think it should have been addressed years ago. And granted, this is something that is not easy to come out about. People are saying she's brave, she's courageous for it, and using a platform to express, or rather reveal, certain things people weren't privy to in previous years. And in that situation, I kind of understand it, but in the same light, I don't get why you've held on to this information for so many years without addressing it. Positions or not, you could have got fired, he could have got fired. That's probably why you didn't think about it. But if it's that important, why wait until now to address these allegations? And then we have side B, which is on more leaving it to actual facts. Actually, more three. Side B is more like Vic's personal beliefs about it. He has apologized for anything that he may have done or didn't know that he was doing. Because if you see any videos of Vic during press conferences or panels where he's talking to guests or participants, he's a very affectionate guy, and he is a very outgoing guy. He's very huggy. He's very emotional as well. You'll see that a lot. He's a very emotional being. So the fact that he's been now ostracized for being this guy for X amount of years, it is kind of weird saying that it's coming to light now, or whatever is coming to light is happening now when he's been this guy for most of his voice acting career. And granted, people may not want to be, in that situation where like he's a very huggy person, maybe don't want that. Granted, but you still have to be in that picture. Like people that are actually coming out and saying that he's been like forcefully forcefully attractive. What the fuck am I trying to say? Forcefully trying to. Man, I would hope I can edit this. But basically being too forward with his affections in public eye, and this is been videoed and stuff like that and taking pictures. But these are the same people that are saying he's been doing this. Like they go up to take the picture and do all the stuff and ask him to do the lines from his popular roles, and then later down the line they come out and say, "Oh, I was abused, I was sexually assaulted," out of nowhere. So I don't get that route of it. So that's why many people are saying I stand with Vic, because it doesn't make much sense for you to come out now instead of when it actually happened. If it was true, it should have been true then, which is why you should have said it then, to not have this giant buildup and explosion of allegations that may or may not be true until someone famous or somebody who may have had the same situation after them comes out to pretty much ruin his career and his life. So those are the two sides. The third side being, which I kind of am on that side of, I really don't care who's really right or wrong. Facts really determine what is right or wrong in the situation. Did he commit these allegations? Did he sexually assault anybody? Are the texts and emails and whatever that's brought up against him actually true? Or are this all speculation that people have blown out of proportion? Let's be honest, it's happened before. Many people, many women have just blown out of proportion anything that may have been true about something just because they don't like somebody. There are hundreds of articles about people who have claimed rape allegations, and then after the man has served time, they come out and say, I lied because whatever reason, I didn't like him, or sex was bad, or something along those lines. So is it more than likely true that somebody had lied on Vic to say that he's been very, I wish I could actually talk, to say that he's been assaulting people just to ruin his reputation? Absolutely. That's way more likely than anything I've heard so far, because it just doesn't make any logical sense in which you hold on to this information for years to come, or months to come, or weeks to come even, and now say that I was sexually assaulted by Vic Mignogna. It doesn't make sense to normal people why you would hold on to that information until something happens, because the Broly movie just came out a few weeks ago. Very high time for the cast of Dragon Ball Super, and all of a sudden now we even have the voice actors for Dragon Ball Super attacking each other, like Vic being the voice of Broly, and Monica being the voice of Bulma, and even Chris Sabat being the voice of Vegeta, and Sonny Strait being the voice of Krillin. They're all pretty much teaming up on each other, and Vic being the man out. It's very hard to even call this claim true all now, because they all say that, yeah, I've heard something about Vic before, but I didn't do anything about it. And whether that was because they were afraid about their jobs being on the line or something happening, it's still kind of bring up the same situation. Why wait till now? If these allegations are true, you shouldn't have anything to fear from any backlash if these things are true. If you have evidence, bring it forward so people can actually take hold of the justice system and actually get this information corrected so that the person who's telling the truth is actually right. Nobody wants to be the person that has to step forward, but in the situation where everybody's stepping forward, I don't think that now is the time for your integrity. At this point, if you're right, you're right. There's no point of being emotional about it, especially if these allegations are true. Now, on Vic's side, I don't think he had any idea what was going to be happening, because I just recently seen the video where he was Well, he was very, like I say, he's a very emotional guy. He was crying in these allegations about these allegations because he didn't know, or he claims he didn't know, that he was being that kind of guy. He doesn't really strike me as a person who would intentionally go out of his way to harm people at all. And people are trying to paint him as a person who actually preys on people, preys on women, and he can't be touched because he's such a high figure in the voice acting community with a lot of fans and a lot of, a lot of influence, basically. And I don't think that's the case because a guy like Vic, I don't, and of course, this does not have any, bearing on him if he did it or not. But Vic as a person doesn't seem like the kind of person that would actually go forward with the things he's been accused of. He's a very emotional being. He's a very caring kind of person, he seems like. And like I said, this doesn't have anything to do, like, for all I could be saying that it could be a giant mask. But I can't see Vic being the kind of person who would actually, like, sexually assault anybody, at least intentionally. Like, going to a panel, you see a lot of people hugging and, even kissing on the cheek. He's a very affectionate person. He does that. But it's never been a problem until now. And nobody said anything until now. So it's very strange that all up until now, everything was cool. Like, nobody had anything bad about to say about Vic, except maybe they sound the same in most of his roles. But that's more of a, opinion based on the fan base. But nothing this serious has ever, that I'm aware of, has never come out to be as detrimental to somebody's career, unless it's like I said, like the Bill Cosby effect, where we got like Bill and Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey and all these guys who for years have been on top of the game in the entertainment business, and then all of a sudden it all comes crashing down because it turns out they were a shitty person. Now, just like Bill Cosby, America's dad at the time, nobody thought he could do any wrong. So I could be wrong by saying that Vic could do no wrong in the situation. But in the same situation, these allegations should have been brought forward way before now. There's no reason, and you could say that the victims were scared or anything like that, but it only takes one person to say something. And if Monica Rios, somebody who's been just as high in the standards as Dragon Ball Super, and more prevalent, in my opinion, in Dragon Ball as a history, should have came forward years ago with these allegations, because that could have been the deciding factor about it. If these things are true, this shouldn't have mattered at all. Whether it's recent or 10 years down the line, you have a responsibility as well. That's just my opinion. I don't know like how you feel in your position. Like I said, Monica doesn't really owe us anything for an explanation. Would it help? Hell yes. But in the situation, you really can't blame the victim if there are any in the situation. Because from many people's point of view, Vic seems to be the only victim in the situation. And that is kind of like the deciding factor. Who's right, who's wrong, who's lying, and who actually has something to gain from the situation. And it seems that more people have something to gain from blaming Vic for the sexual allegations than people who are trying to side with him saying he did anything wrong. Vic has everything to lose in the situation, but everybody who's accused of him has nothing to lose except for some credibility, which will be back in a year or two because this is going to blow over in a year. So just like in conclusion, I guess, it's really hard to pick a side on this. Nobody really has any true evidence about the situation. And any evidence that has, well, I've seen like there's been like text or stuff like that. It doesn't really stand up in the court of law. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I don't know anything about the law really. But, excuse me, all these things really don't have anything to do with what happened. People say that he was a very like huggy person, very affectionate when time is appropriate. And they're like text from somebody or whatever. You should go look for it yourself. I'm not going to link anything because I'm recording on my phone, and I've spent 15 minutes talking about jack shit for about a serious situation that I have no bearing on. But I don't know. I'm just a lame kid. Yeah, I can do better than that. That's better.